Hey guys, it's HeroWiz. Have you ever seen this Dragon Ball GT concept art by Akira Toriyama? If you didn't already know, Toriyama actually played around with the colors a bit for Goku's gi before settling on the design we got for the show. The only concept we got released to the public was one showing this orange and blue gi. And after seeing there was a Dragon Ball GT Ichiban Kuji coming out this year, I decided to paint a Goku figure with these colors. With that out of the way, let's begin. I began with sanding all the parts down and filling in all the holes with some super glue. When all that was done, I primed all the parts with some Kaleido white primer. After priming, I decided I didn't like how I cut the arms away from the torso, so I went back into Blender and recut the models to better hide where the arms meet the torso. Then I resanded and primed the parts off screen. After all that, it was time to paint. First, I started with the skin tones. This time I made up the shading of flat flesh and red leather. Usually I'd use any skin tone, but I wanted to replicate the darker skin tones of Dragon Ball GT. Then, I blended it all together with some flat flesh. Afterwards, I went back in and added a bit more shading with the same combination of colors as before. Then I moved on to the pants. For the shading, I used a combination of dark blue, dark Prussian blue, and deep sky blue. Then I used some dark Prussian blue and German gray to blend the shading in. After that, I thought the pants were still a bit too dark, so I added in some deep sky blue as highlights. Moving on to the shoes. I used German gray for the dark parts, with some blue gray pale as the highlights. Then I used some sunset orange for the ankle wraps. Finally, for the soles, I used some pure white. Then it was time to do the orange of his gi and his wristbands. I started by doing a shading layer of sunset red and orange fire. Then a blending layer made up of sunset orange. Finally, I went back with a second shading layer made up of sunset orange and orange fire. Then I masked off the torso and painted in the belt. I used white for the base tone and used blue-gray pale for the shading. After finishing with the orange, I realized I painted the wristbands the wrong color, so I went back and painted them with the dark Prussian blue. Moving on to the hair, I painted in the base tone with black. Then, after pulling off all the masking, I went in with a brush and filled in all the places I missed. If you've ever seen movie 8 or 9 for the Dragon Ball Z series, you may have noticed that all the black hair has blue for highlights. So here, I went in some dark Prussian blue to give the hair a bit of a blue tint. Let me know if you think it worked out. After filling in all the face details, it was time to glue all the parts together. Finally, I sprayed the whole model with some AK matte varnish. Here's the final result. If you like this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. And let me know down below what you want to see next.